time when I arrived in UK, I get the taxi. But UK people is not very friendly sometimes, yeah? I get the taxi and I start to spoke with the driver, and driver all the time is very serious, it's not normally. Brazilian people all the time spoke, but the driver is not very friendly sometimes.
That's a cultural difference.
Cultural, yeah. It's very cultural.
I told you off, didn't I,
yeah.
on the bus for talking to people,
Yes.
because I didn't understand why you would do it. In England we are quite reserved sometimes, so if I don't know you, I might talk to you about the weather. This is called small talk, but probably won't talk very much.
The bus is quite funny because in Brazil I forgot the name. Turnstile. In Brazil you have turnstile, but in UK you don't have. You just need to pay sometimes by card. You don't have like contact, and it's very different.
I took a photograph of your buses.
Very
strange to me that you have the barrier thing.
Meeting people. Well, Karina, see 5 minutes ago about English people. In my first time when I started work, I was with my boss and I was like, he make a question for him and I make like this him. Sorry, in Brazil is like normal, yeah, because I was look my work and now I have one question. Can you help me? Right, it's very different, very, very different. In Brazil, you are friendly, but now I'm almost English. Also, for you go with people, like shake always, but in that distance, never you come like this English. Never ever. Karina, never ever.
Yeah, I try to do.
Yeah, no, it's just so different.
Let's shake.
I met a Brazilian lady and I made a mistake. I think I was quite offensive. She came up and went,
yeah.
No.
Normally it's 3 kisses, yeah?
3 kisses, we don't do 1 kiss.
Food. Difference food Brazil and UK. Normally UK is traditional is fish and chips. Many people know UK and Scotland as well, yeah? Scotland and UK, delicious. Basically fish and chips. Yeah, otherwise, delicious. This is disgusting. For people, it's normally you had in the morning toast and beans.
For real?
Delicious.
Yes. For him, it's delicious.
No.
The first time I met him in his house, I had this, it's disgusting. Disgusting this. And for English people, it's weird, but for Brazil, it's normally condensed milk. Most people like açaí, condensed milk, but for English people, is this face.
Cookie horse.
Don't have it.
Cookie horse. Condensed milk.
Yes, condensed milk and powdered milk with açaí. We go in for açaí and it's disgusting. For me, the worst is black pudding. Have you tried it?
No.
Okay. It's basically is because it's fat pig, yeah.
Pig fat, pig blood, dried and fried.
It's disgusting.
Delicious.
For English it's delicious, but for ours it's because it's like blood and fat pig. Yes, for sure. And this is our traditional meals on Sunday, called Sunday roast. Basically vegetables and meat. In Brazil you can say like pasta and chicken cooked like this.
Brazilians seem to eat much more meat. We have lots more vegetables. Your food is much tastier than ours. Ours is quite bland.
For me, the worst as well was the lunch, like a sandwich. In UK, normally just had a sandwich cold. When I meet Anthony as well at the supermarkets, I get one sandwich and put in the oven, and for him it was disgusting. But in Brazil, it's not normal to have like a cold sandwich like this.
I could not understand why Elvis was putting his sandwich in the oven. It was very odd for me. Very odd.
But for me, it's like like cold. Yeah, it's just normal in Brazil.
But do you still eat hot sandwich?
Hot.
Yes.
Always.
Brazil, no. I still Brazil for food.
In England, breaks are often only 20 minutes. So people will buy cold pasta and cold sandwiches and eat them straight away out of the packet because there isn't time for anything else to do.
In UK, the break is 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and 20 minutes. No, it's like in Brazil, you have 1 hour for bacon, 20 minutes, you just have time for cold sandwich, no oven there.
No,
This cold, or sometimes just for microwave something.
But do you have 3 breaks of
3 breaks, 2 minutes.
20,
Yeah,
20,
it is,
20.
you can't work more than 3 hours without break. 3 hours break, 2 hours break, because some people have like a diet, I forgot, correct, diet, yeah? And you can't stay 3 hours more than food. And all in the UK is like 3 hours break, 2 hours break, sometimes 2 hours. If you have 12 hours, sometimes you have 4 breaks, 5, 10.
If there is the law in England says that you must have 20 minutes of break for each 6 hours of work that you do in a day. So if you do 12 hours, you are legally entitled to 40 minutes of break, but companies often give you 3 breaks. in that day.
Some companies, and my last company, I have 20, half an hour, 20, and 20 for 12 hours. You'll never have like 1 hour. Well, the weather for me is very crazy. I know it's there, always like cold and dark, rainy, like this. You never see the lovely weather now. No, yeah, but you never see the sun. And the summer is almost
That's my lovely, lovely.
the same year. The difference. The summer is 2 weeks-ish, 2 months.
3 months,
Yeah.
2 weeks of sun.
Yes, more or less. And have some people enjoy all day the party and try enjoy as much as you can.
So in England, I'll say to Elvis, God, it's so hot. And Elvis goes, so hot.
In Brazil it's different. For me it's normally sometimes hot. I'll die. UK about fashion. Brazil always have a local scholar. You can see me. Colors, always people's colors. And UK, like this.
Beautiful. Like the weather.
Always
Red.
like white.
The weather.
Right. You can see always like black, white, gray, no loads of those colors.
Me too.
Oh my God, I only wear these.
Yes. UK is normally only like this. It's not very professional.
If you compare some people.
Well, about my work, I work in UK in warehouse. I thought about the break. The break is different in Brazil. But in my first time when I arrived in UK, my English was almost okay. I was very nervous, but I'm so glad that I have private class with Jeff. I meet with Jeff in private class.
Yes.
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 New York, Jess.
Yes.
Yes. I'm so glad that I make classes here, private classes. It's very helpful. I was a little bit nervous, but English people is a little bit friend, yeah, sometimes.
When you get to know us.
Yes. And I was nervous, but now it's alright. Every day I try my best.
I think that Elvis has found that if you don't understand, it's important to ask the person to repeat themselves. People won't mind. It's absolutely fine. Don't just go, yes, yes, yes,
It's over.
yes. Sometimes we argue.
Yes, I just yes.
Elvis, why did you not empty the bin? I told you to. You said yes.
Yes, I did sometimes. Sometimes when you work 12 hours, people study English and I'm going to yes, 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 but you don't have idea what's happening. Yes, yes. Yes.
I
We
think
laugh. Yes. In Brazil we laugh. Like,
Well,
so funny. Like, what?
sometimes some work I work like 4 days off. 12 hours, 4 days off. Sometimes 3 days after 4 days. Oh my God.
brain
Some
doesn't
English
work.
strings doesn't work, but sometimes yes, 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 and that's it. That's alright.
Carry on.
I think it's very important that if you're speaking English and you make a mistake, that you stop, think about it, and say it again. You do now, but you didn't always. And
Yeah.
sometimes that would be just like you as well.
The difference between UK and Brazil, I guess, about Carnival, and my first time when I was in UK last year, Anthony told Elvis, "I will show for you Carnival UK." Okay, will be 1 week, maybe. And I was later, always there later. 5 minutes is Anthony. For me, Elvis running for Carnival will finish. Carnival UK is like 5 minutes only.
Oh
It's
my
not the
God.
same Brazil, it's like weeks and weeks. And
Carnival.
Anthony,
3 days.
yes, and we
Absolutely
like weeks.
incredible here.
Now you know where's Carnival. Anthony have been in Rio de Janeiro with me. How he know how is Carnival? Yeah? No 5 minutes, the same Gloucester.
No, it's incredible. There's so much colour and excitement. In England, it sort of goes by, it rains a little bit, and we all go home. That's the end
Let's
of
go.
that.
Anyone have a question about for me, for Anthony, for everything?
Why did you choose Gloucester?
Gloucester. When I was in Italy, by my visa, I start looking, working around, and I find one agency, then tell me about Gloucester, and I just move there, and the agency give me work, give me accommodation, transfer, everything that I need, and just go there. I mean, when I finish my visa in Italy, I just start looking for any country. I know it will be UK, but I mean, if I have a job in different country, I go there. But now, the first city was Gloucester. Exactly for that. I was in Italy and just come in UK with work, house, everything. Yeah.
And then you met me. So,
Yes. Anyone more? For Anthony, for me?
Did you study 2 years?
No. I don't remember how many.
Me neither, but it was
Yeah.
around 1
1
year
year.
or less.
Yeah.
Because you did the application intensive training.
Yes.
Yes.
I start classes after in July, and I have intensive,
Yes. And then you travel.
private classes.
Right.
Yeah, private classes, and after I was in London and Brazil, and after I was in Italy as well.
Didn't you have difficulty to understand the accent? Because it's very strong accent. British.
Yeah, it's well. I mean, when I was in Brazil, it's different because you just heard English in the school sometimes. I mean, depends. Some students different, but in UK, it's every day. Yes, every time you need to go supermarket, you need Survivor. Everything's different. You need. Anthony have one accent. Yeah.
my accent is quite mild.
Yes. Well,
In Scotland, they have a very strong accent, also in Wales, but within England, each region has its own accent and often uses different words. So, for instance, a baby in Yorkshire is called a bairn, which is a word you will never be taught in English school because it is only used in Yorkshire. So that can make things
the
quite
same
complicated.
ish. Yeah.
Ish. Yeah.
Yeah, many words is very different depending which area you are.
Why are you studying English?
Because I want to improve my understanding, my comprehension. I think that English for me is a bit easy, but I don't understand very well. I have difficulty to understand different accents. That's what I was talking to my teachers. I'm trying to keep up.
Your spoken English is very good.
If you can understand, okay.
It's the same with Anthony. Sometimes he need help for me 4 times. 3-4 times the same word for you try get it, and it's not very easy. It's different, yeah. But sometimes we have fights about words. I try to tell for him Portuguese, what happened? Obrigado, obrigada, yeah.
Sandwiches.
Yes, sandwich.
Quite a long argument.
Sandwich for Brazil, for me, sandwich can be hot and cold. In UK, sandwich is always only cold. Yeah. In Brazil, it's like different. Some things very different. Anyone more?
Would you like to return to Brazil?
Well, I spoke with Anthony. Anthony maybe wanna come here for 6 months for the Portuguese. Maybe I can come, but just for less than 1 year. No more. I mean, the weather is lovely, but something is very different.
Such as?
Second?
For example?
Price, food, supermarkets, everything. Anthony, when he was in Bonito and Pantanal, some things is very expensive. I can say, for example, Nutella. Anthony loves Nutella. Yeah. English people don't like Nutella.
I'm British. Of course, of
You don't like as well?
No, I don't.
Yeah. But for example, some prices is very, very different. I love Nutella. Anthony is
Batteries,
disgusting.
for instance, and lighters. Batteries, how much?
Yeah.
£1 for 12?
Yeah, pay like £1 for 12.
But what's that in real?
2 was £4 for the reals. Yeah, I grow about, I go where? UK, yeah? I bought like batteries, 12 batteries for £1. In Brazil it's like 2 for 4. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, it's very different, some things. Very different.
Uma dica para os estudantes de ciência, tipo eu, sou do segundo módulo, tem mais gente do segundo.
English Portuguese.
English, please. Tell him what you
Yeah.
said.
Well, when I start here, my first class I remember with Karina, I was doing mostly English, and Karina was, I forgot, how do you say method in English? I forgot. Method, yeah. The method here is very nice because we repeat 3-4 times. English, when you start, it's like this. If you don't know one word, just write 10 times, 1 times, 2, 3, 4. The same kind of make with me. What is that? This is a pen. I remember the first lesson.
What's it?
Yeah, what's it? Like this. Just try your best and list music, moves. Now movies always I see. Sometimes in Portuguese, but always subtitles. If you start classes, do that always. If you have a specific like move or music, try always subtitles. If it was an English music, subtitles again, because sometimes you listen different than what you think is right. I have sometimes Anthony. I listen some music, I don't know word Anthony, Elvis. Is that spelling, right? That's it, just try always subtitles movies. And if you have like one dream the same way, just walking slow, 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 take your time and go. Yeah, go ahead.
How many people in the city you
Live. You see that today, how many remember that?
Yes.
If my brother made this question.
I think it was 160,000
Yeah, 100, yes.
in Gloucester City. In the county of Gloucestershire, there are, is it 700?
600, nearby 700.
and in Dayatuba 2,000.
No, yeah, yes.
200,000, right?
2,000.
Gloucester is a very small city. Really, it's more similar to a town than a city. In England, a city is a town that's got a cathedral. So Gloucester is a very small city. London, Bristol, Birmingham, places like that are much bigger and busier.
For you, Anthony, when you decided to come to Brazil, did you used to have an idea about Brazilian custom? That when you come from Brazil, it was very different of your thinking, were thinking. Like they will be very crazy, so they are very normal people. I don't know, for example.
No, I think I was quite worried that I didn't speak very much any Portuguese. A lot of English people go to other countries and they will expect you to be able to speak English. I think that's quite rude, and I think that you should learn a little bit of language of the country that you're going to go to. However, it's only a holiday, so I'm going back home, so I've not learned that much. Now I'm staying with Elvis's parents, and I regret that I didn't take a bit of time to learn some more Portuguese, because Google Translate is okay, but it's not that good.
It's just so they don't have a sense.
Yes, sometimes the translations don't make any sense. Better to have a good understanding and to go to somewhere like this school and learn how to do it properly.
Without translations.
So they should only not have any sense. Sometimes when you use translation, it's like very, very crazy.
I think probably the main differences for me are that England is quite focused on health and safety. There's a lot of regulations and laws about what you can and can't do to be safe. Some things in Brazil are quite shocking to me, but obviously very normal for you guys. And when I tell your brother about how we do it in England, his brother finds it quite funny. Things like, for instance, electricity sockets in the bathrooms, light switches in the bathrooms. To me, it's not legal in the UK to do that. So to me, that's quite odd.
Wash machine outside the house always.
Yeah, but I understand that.
It's always summer here.
Always summer here. Very rainy in England. Sorry to be quite personal, but I very often put toilet paper down the toilet because that's what you do in England. We don't have the little bin. To me, that's also very odd. You guys eat lots of meat, but it's all very, very tasty. Your food is very tasty. English food, again, because of the weather, because of the climate, most of our food is stuff that we chop up and put in a pan and boil with a bit of salt. And that's really it. It's not very tasty.
How about feijoada? You like feijoada? You taste one time and picanha.
Picanha, I know I like.
You like picanha? Favorite part of fish picanha.
Very nice, barbecue, lovely. But other than that, things are not hugely different. Culturally, there are some differences. Particularly in that the English are quite reserved. We're not very talkative to strangers. But people go to work, they've got jobs, they come back home again, they do the laundry, they go out and have a meal with their friends. Things are not so different, really.
You said something about being safe or not, like lights and sockets that you said. Have you ever seen a Brazilian person washing the bathroom? No? So one day, because you're going to be like, oh my God.
Don't search on YouTube.
Never. He's my husband, and when I'm washing the bathroom, he always says, oh, be careful, because I wash the walls, and there's a switch over there. So he always says, oh, you're going to get something, like, be careful. But I keep doing this. This is Brazilian culture.
Absolutely, cultural differences. Because we're part of the European Union at the moment, until Brexit, a lot of our law comes from the European Union. And so the European Union states that we have to assess the risk in all work activities. So I was explaining to your brother that if you go to work and you have wet hands after you've washed your hands, and you press the light switch on the wall and you are electrocuted, you will be able to prosecute your employer because they did not look after your health and safety. Because in England it would be a string hanging from the ceiling and you pull the string and you cannot electrocute yourself. Similarly, if you're walking outside, if there is a hole in the pavement and you trip over and you break your ankle, you would prosecute the council. because it's the council's fault that they did not make the pavement safe. So it's quite different, really, in that sense.
What do you work with?
I work in care. I have worked with people with learning disabilities, mental health problems, older people. I'm also a moving and handling trainer. So part of my job is to teach classes of people how to safely lift, transfer and move loads and objects and people using machinery and tools and equipment. And that's something you had to go through for your job, isn't it? You had to undertake health and safety training and you had to learn to lift, although yours was a video, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I've done that job now for about 17 years-ish. I've forgotten how old I am, so probably quite a bit longer than that actually. I think about it. See, where's the hair gone? Time flies. And I very much enjoy doing that job. It doesn't pay particularly well. In England, we don't always value our older people. Very often care is carried out outside of the home by people that are paid by the government or paid privately. If you are old in the UK, you will be, and you have to move into a place to receive care, you will be expected to sell your house and use the proceeds of the sale of your house to pay for your care. In England, you might sell your house for £200,000, and the home that I work in will charge you, did I say 2,000? 200,000 you might sell your home for. In the home that I work in, we will charge you £2,000 a week to stay in our home and receive our care. So the value of your property is gone very quickly, and then the state will pay for your care after that. Quite a different system. I've not seen many residential care facilities in Brazil. Is when people become old in Brazil, do you carry out the care within the family, or do you send them off somewhere else to be looked after?
Did you understand? When you get older, you know, the age passes. Yes, when you are 80, 90 years old, like in your family, have you ever had the experience in your family? Did you take this person to a specific place so the people can take care of them, or did you keep the person in your house, or would you keep the person in your house?
I have my brother.
Yes.
It's like I told for Anthony, it's normally in Brazil, if you have 3 or 4 brothers, it's 2 weeks. If my house, 2 weeks, my brother is keep going like this. It's not normally like UK, just to bring for care and that's it.
Yeah.
Brazil normally is sharing about brothers or parents or whatever. It's
And
like,
it's
it's different cultures.
Yes. And it's expensive to ask for a person to take care, right? Or to take the person to a place.
Very expensive in the UK as well, but the state, if you don't have the money to pay for that care, the state will pay for that care indefinitely. Similarly, healthcare is free at the point of use. Elvis has managed to get some presents, some gifts from the UK.
Yes, the second is here.
And he was very worried when he went to hospital that they would ask him for money. But because he's a European citizen, all healthcare is free forever
Like
at the
if you
point of
were
use.
like Brazilian citizen only, would he need to pay for it?
In theory, yes, but
Okay.
there is only in theory, there is an overriding principle that you are a human being. If you are injured, we're not going to leave you on the floor to die, we will provide healthcare to you. So theoretically there may be charges, but in reality, not often.
Also, it's very small. Yeah, I remember.
Things to dentistry,
It's like 25 pounds, 6 pounds, depends.
Yes, usually your employer is not responsible for paying for any of your meals or welfare. The state will pay for your eye care. You pay a very small amount. Pay for your dental care and pay for your general health care. Pay for your health care in your old age. Unless you have a property to sell in your old age, in which case we will make you sell it and we will take the money off of you and we will use it to pay for your health care in your old age.
Any other questions, guys?
Anyone more?
No, are you sure? Yes. I don't know when he's coming back.
Hopefully very soon.
Yes, I hope so. Come and visit.
A question?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is the biggest difference to a person who live in other country?
I think missing family. Missing is the number one. It's like a family. Well, for example, Anthony has his parents there. That's different.
another
In
cultural
Brazilian
difference.
people is, for example, is no normal. In Brazil, when you met some people's first time you spoke, the second time you swap WhatsApp, the third you go for coffee, for housing, go to Facebook, whatever. English people is like no normal. It's like you live 10 years for both house maybe. For one coffee, it's different.
I was quite surprised that Elvis rang his mum every day. Every day.
So normal, yeah. I come from Milan every day there. And sometimes you live in the same city. It's no normally.
And another cultural difference is that I've noticed that Elvis's family and friends come round to his house whenever. Just open the door and walk in. Never happened in the
You
UK.
can need an appointment.
You need an appointment. You basically say, I'll come round on Wednesday at 5 o'clock.
After 10 years. After 10 years. For appointment. It's no normal. Because it is not normal. After 1 month, we have friends.
Has Elvis changed, or did you get used to it?
I think you've got used to some of the English customs. But when you live in the same in your own country for your, we were talking about this, when you live in your own country for your whole life and you don't live elsewhere, you think that what you do is normal, that everybody does that. Sometimes it's nice to visit other cultures and then you can reflect on your own culture and maybe think, maybe what we do isn't the best, maybe we can change it a little bit. So it's an opportunity for me to learn and change as well. That said, the atmosphere in Britain has changed over the last year, the last 2 years in particular, worried. It certainly made you quite worried, hasn't it?
Well.
So yes, we're not as welcoming as we were previously, unfortunately. Unlike you guys, who have made me feel very welcome here. Everybody in Brazil has been very friendly.
It's our pleasure for you to come here many times.
Absolutely my pleasure. Really enjoyed your country.
Do you play football?
No, but most English people do. I'm unusual. Nearly everybody in England likes football. That's something you're able to go and talk. I mentioned earlier on small talk. Small talk is a way of talking to people who you don't know that well. So if I had to sit next to you on the bus, which I wouldn't do on purpose because I'm English, but if I had to, and the bus stopped working, I may say, raining again. And you would say, yes, it's always raining, it's a shame. Did you see the football last night? Yes, I saw the football. I support Everton or Man United. It's a way of starting conversations with people that is not emotionally involved in any way. It's what we call small talk. And small talk can lead to deeper conversations. But generally the English people don't like to talk about how they feel. If somebody says to you, how are you today? you are expected to answer, I'm fine. Doesn't matter if your house burned down last night. Your whole family could have been killed in a tragic flood. If I say, how are you? You say, I'm fine. And then we might have a bit of small talk. And after I've known you for 10 years, then we might talk about how you're feeling.
After 10 years.
After 10 years.
Just remember.
How long have you been living there?
1 year.
1 year?
And 1 year and 4 months. Something like that. Yeah. I was in 3-4 months and then came like 1 year and 4 months.
But I think I can't say enough the importance of being confident in asking or saying when you don't understand. I think for you, Elvis is working in a job at the moment that is not as skilled as he actually is. And that's largely because, although your English is very good, you're not always confident to ask when you don't understand. Yes, 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 yes. Normally people will repeat it and say it in a different way to help you to understand. Even though English people are quite reserved, underneath our reservations, we're quite friendly, really. Underneath, absolutely.
I have a friend who lived in the United States for a while, and when he asked to repeat a question that he didn't understand, people used to say the same words, used to say the same thing. So he couldn't understand at all. That does not explain, and that's why Brazilian people don't ask when they have a question, I think.
Yeah, because maybe you think that we didn't understand exactly what you said, like the words, but we didn't understand the vocabulary.
Yes.
We don't have vocabulary for this.
Some English people do have a habit of doing the same thing. It's quite patronising. So sometimes, for instance, a lot of English people go to Spain for holiday, and sometimes some English people think that if I said to Elvis, where is the toilet? And Elvis said, I don't understand what you said. Some English people might go, where is the toilet? As though saying it louder and again. But most people will say, have you got a bathroom? Or I need to urinate, or something like that. Most people will find a different way of saying it.
Maybe it's a good tip to give to the students. Like, don't say, can you repeat, please?
Yes.
Can you repeat using other words?
Yes, absolutely.
Be more specific, right? No questions, no.
So, is anybody planning to go to visit England? Or have I scared you all off now?
Did you understand?
I wasn't listening.
I'm sorry.
You're already British, you don't have to.
No, repeat please.
And I was saying, is anybody planning on making a travel to the UK?
Absolutely.
Or,
I said you're
or
already
have
British.
Elvis and I made you scared?
When are you going home?
Thursday, isn't it?
Thursday. Children. Rio de Janeiro, Bonito, now it's here.
Absolutely amazing.
Which city did you enjoy more?
Bonito, swimming, absolutely lovely, amazing, incredible. We don't have, I don't think, quite as much wildlife or ecological. Yes, not as much in the UK. Brazil is known as the lungs of the world, and I can see why. Lots of trees and plants and animals, all very exciting for me.
For me, it's like a criminal. You don't like açaí. He don't like açaí. I don't know why. He tastes 3 times açaí. No word.
But açaí is better than condensed milk.
Yes, I don't like condensed milk. Like for
Do you
that.
like brigadeiro?
Do I like it?
Do you like brigadeiro?
I think he has with chocolate. No.
Oh, is it the
You have
the
yes.
round things?
Yeah,
no,
today
they're
with
very nice.
cake. No.
Gold chocolate.
For what?
Yeah, you've got those at the airport. Yeah, they're very nice.
Carrot cake with chocolate brilliant.
Of course.
Yes.
Yes.
Very
What
nice.
about toasted cake? Have you eaten?
Yes, but I think you don't like. You in hotel, you need to.
Oh, the little
Yes,
cheese
cheese bread.
Oh my god.
Because you know the problem, he don't like condensed milk, powdered milk. For everything you think you have a condensed milk or milk or whatever.
When Elvis asked me where you buy condensed milk, I said nowhere. why would you want condensed
We
milk?
don't do this here.
And powdered milk as well, yes?
Powdered milk is something that only older people use. Old people keep it in the cupboard in case you run out of fresh milk.
Just one sec. Everybody knows where's powdered milk?
What babies, they don't have powdered milk?
Babies do. They have special baby powdered milk, but that's the only time in your life that you will ever drink powdered milk. And you would never have it spring. That was all very new to me.
Like acai, powdered milk, condensed milk.
Yes.
Very nice.
Similarly, there are lots of sweet things for breakfast, like cake in the hotel.
Cake.
Very, very nice, but for me, it's quite a cultural difference. It's just something that I just cake in the morning for me is crazy, but
Yes.
but it's not. It's just
For us, the pudding, the English pudding,
for pudding. Yeah,
it's the same situation.
pudding in England is anything sweet that
Yeah.
you eat after a meal. For you, pudding is
You have pudding, yeah, specific.
it's very nice.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
But pudding is any sweet.
Any sweet, yes.
Yeah.
So this is an example of where words, we've argued about this,
Yes.
haven't we?
Pudding.
Pudding and pudding. Very
Just
confusing.
sweet.
Yeah,
Pudding.
yeah.
Pudding for me is pudding the same Brazil.
Yes.
Yes. No black pudding.
Oh my god.
Black pudding is disgusting.
She has a question.
Do you like caipirinha?
No, yes, I do, don't
Yeah,
I?
yeah.
Caipirinha.
Yeah, very
With
nice.
strawberry, with kiwi, and
Yeah.
yeah. Caipirinha de picanha, relaxa. Caipirinha de picanha.
Everything that I've tried in Brazil has been really, really tasty. The only things that really I don't like is condensed milk and powdered milk.
And Nutella.
Yes, but that's just me. People in England like Nutella.
Yeah.
Just me, I don't like Nutella.
Do you like Japanese food?
I've only tried a little bit of it, but yeah, it's alright. But we don't really have a lot of that in England.
No, that's all. No.
What did you like the most here? Considering everything.
When we went to the Copacabana, what was that called? Sort of like we would call it a buffet.
We were 2 weeks ago in Copacabana Hotel for feijoada, and he enjoyed a lot.
Yeah, that was lovely. All I could have eaten that until I exploded. Lovely. Very, very nice.
Maybe both of you can answer, but in England, do you people celebrate like birthday or date birthday like Brazilians celebrate with pizza, cake, I don't know.
Yeah, we have cake and candles and blow out the candles. But Christmas is a bit.
It's different, yes. You can tell about.
Oh, crackers.
Yeah,
Christmas
no, in
crackers.
Brazil.
Yes, no, but I think we do Christmas differently anyway, don't we?
Yes, different.
So Christmas is quite a big deal in England. Most of England is not religious. Most of England does not believe in God. So although we still have Easter and Christmas, it's more about family getting together, especially because we don't necessarily talk to our families very often in the week, day to day. So Christmas tends to be a time when you all get together and give each other gifts, and same with birthdays, everything comes together, and there are lots of gifts to unwrap and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, I think that's quite similar.
Do you generally keep living with your parents, like after some age? Even if you don't get married or not? Because generally in Brazil, we stay with our parents until we get married. Doesn't matter if you're going to get married when you are 40, 50 years old. So,
Now, in general, in the UK, you would move out from your parents by age 18, in general. That is helped by the fact that we have quite a generous welfare state system. So if you cannot afford housing, the government will pay for housing for you. It does not necessarily matter whether you've worked or not previously. Here, it's 6 months of benefits, isn't it?
Yes.
After you've worked for 2 years.
Yes.
So in the UK, that is not a requirement. So people are able to move out of home and the state pays for it. Not necessarily the best system, because obviously it can be quite costly, but generally people move out of home quite early. It's quite unusual to be living at home in your 30s. It'd be quite unusual to be living at home in your 30s. Not unheard of, people do it, but it would be unusual.
do you have any other questions, guys? No, yes, maybe.
For you, in English, is it easy to start studying in a university, or it's not like in Brazil? You have to study a lot. Or...
You mean for getting university or not?
Yes.
For example,
How's the difference?
yeah, for start university for free, you need living there for 3 years, like this, 2 years minimum, or you need to pay. But it's like quite expensive, like 10,000 for a year. Like this, 10,000 kids per year. It's quite expensive.
Do you have plans to?
Yes, and for 2 years maybe start. Because then you live for 2 years, or 2 years for start class.
Education used to be entirely free in the UK until about 9 or 10 years ago. So I recently looked at doing a degree to become a social worker, and it would cost me £11,000 a year to become a social worker, and I would leave school with a £33,000 debt. And to put that into some context, to buy your first house in a not very good area would probably cost you around 160,000. So 33,000 is more than the deposit on the house. It's quite a big chunk of money. For that reason, numbers of nurses have fallen, for instance, because people don't want a large debt when they leave school, which is a bit unfortunate, really. Similar system in Brazil, or different?
I didn't understand.
What do you have to do in Brazil to go to college or university?
Or you have much money.
Much money.
Or basically, if you want to study in a great public university, you have to be studying a particular college that will give you great classes to make great tests to enter the university.
So it's about test results and things like
Yeah.
that.
Okay, score.
Scores, yeah.
You generally spend, depends on the private university, but it goes from 300, 500 until 2,000 reais per month. So it really depends on which one you're going to choose.
Yeah, going to go to.
Yes. Or either, or you study a lot and you go to a public university. You attend classes there.
So are there public universities and private universities?
Yes,
Okay.
that's it. For example, in Indaiatuba we have, there's only one that is a public university. If you want to study in one that is not this one, you need to go to Campinas or São Paulo.
The university stop for 2K.
So-
Yes.
Yes.
Do you have to pay to attend public university?
No, you pay to attend private universities. So like you just, but it's generally more difficult to enter than the public ones.
Yeah.
Not too weird.
Well, it's not so different, is it? We also do have private universities, but they tend to be, you tend to need a lot of money to go to a private university. We're quite lucky in the UK in that our public schooling system is relatively well funded, and normally there's enough schools and universities for people to be able to go to. At university, you don't have to start paying your debt back to the government until you earn a certain amount of money. It's not that when you finish university, you have to start paying. It's only when you get into a job that pays enough money that you start paying the government
In
back.
Brazil, called FIES.
Yes.
Like this, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm going to start mine like.
Yeah. And the fish school paper. Look.
You have 1 year and a half. to start
1 year and a half.
One year and a half.
Take government.
Oh, so it is sort of on a timed basis.
Yes.
Yes.
And you must start paying after a year and a half.
Yes.
Okay, so I'd like to thank you for coming. Guys, I hope that it comes again and again and again and again. When you can come to WhatsApp, it was a pleasure meeting you and having you two here. Yes, so I hope you like it.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure to meet all of you guys. I still think your English is really, really good. I think you will do really well.
Yay.
Just no ask for coffee in 10 years, okay?
Yeah.
10
Don't
years.
say you're going to his house unless the
For 10 years.
No, we are changing.
2019.
Yeah, no, we're
10
sorted.
years.
Exception, I'm an exception.
2019.
You're already British.
10 years.
Yes.
Don't ask me for. And don't ask for condensed milk and açaí.
Yeah, no, you're
Powdered milk.
So thank you for coming. The students that have classes now, you can go.
Can we take a picture?
Yes, please.
Let's do
know
it.
where is my
Yes.
cell phone?
Let's take a picture.
Yeah, certainly.
Thiago, can you do it?
Yeah.
Guys, something